So, quick show of hands, because we're reading this question every day and we want to get this out of the way. How many people, raise your hand when we get to your favorite doctor, and then that way we'll sort of know who everybody's favorite doctor is. How many people, their first and favorite doctor is doctor number 1? Number 2? Okay. Number 3? Tom Baker, number 4. 5? This is where it's going to get interesting. 6? Oh, 7? 8? 9? Hey, there we go. 10? 11? And what about 12? What about Peter Cushing? He counts. Okay.
Or Rowan the movie.
Rowan Atkinson. Okay, so that's done. Thanks so much for coming. This is 50 years of Doctor Who. It's been great. You guys coming all weekend, and your enthusiasm has been awesome. How many people did all 3 of the panels? You were all awesome. Thank you. The best thing you guys can do and tell all your friends is when you get home tonight to the warmth and joy of your own home, email the people at St. Louis Comic Con and tell them how much you like the Doctor Who programming and ask for more. So that would be really great. So thank you for coming. As soon as he sits down, I can introduce the entire panel.
We started early.
It doesn't matter. 10-minute rule.
Sorry.
Yeah, I want to go through. Okay. Anyway, thanks very much for coming. My name's Rob Levy. I'm with the St. Louis CIA. I also write a weekly Doctor Who column for Anglotopia.net. Do a radio show on KDHX, which I've not mentioned until today. And then I also am a blogger and writer and podcaster for thecoffee.com.
So he does a lot. All I can claim is I'm Craig Lefebvre and I'm a longtime fan.
And social media. He's our social media coordinator.
I'm a social media coordinator.
I'm Mike Duvion, the president of St. Louis Celestial Interventions Agency.
I'm Jeff Sass. I'm an artist and a teacher and a longtime fan.
And I'm Tim Brewer, and I'm a longtime fan as well.
And you're all alcoholics. Yeah, sorry. So I guess we'll jump in.
Non-recovering.
Exactly. Next week, a week from today, we will all have seen the Bells of St. John. I can't believe how it's. Well, oh no, there's Sunday. Well, in theory, hypothetically, we all will have seen.
Depends on how you get your episodes.
It's depending on how you get your episodes. We all
watch
hopefully
them on BBC. And
How many watch them on BBC America? And how many, watch them? Okay. That conversation never happened. So anyway, but it's going to be really exciting. We're really excited about the new season. We're also very, very excited about the 50th anniversary.
you look adorable.
Yes, that may be. Aww. That even melts my cold, sad heart. So, we're getting ready for the second half of the season. We get all kinds of things from, spoiler alert, from Cybermen, the Return of River Song, to Clara, Ice Warriors. We also get the exciting debut of Diana Rigg, which we haven't talked about this weekend in Doctor Who, which is pretty big. Matt Smith is going to wear a bowler. Get more Vastra and Strax.
So let me ask you a question real quick. How many people have been at one of the 2 previous panels we've had? Okay, because we're going to try as much as possible. I was asked by 2 people today, actually, if we're going to have new stuff today, and I said, well, it partly depends on what people ask, but
we can.
We want to have both new stuff, and if we had a predominantly new audience, then we certainly want to cover the old as well.
Yeah, so do you guys want to hear about it's your hour, so do you guys want to hear about the classic series or the new series? What do you guys want to do? We have 50 years to talk about it.
New series. No.
New series? Okay. Well, I will say this, though, and we can all chime in. If you haven't seen any of the old classic series, please make it a point to do so. They're out on DVD. If nothing else, the DVD extras on the DVDs are pretty amazing. They're a great way to sort of learn about the history of the show.
Actually, I was just walking the floor, and there's a dealer out with everything from Hartnell, Berkeley, and all the way on up.
But they're not legal. So
They're not legal, but there's the nice cover pictures of it.
Yeah, still. I guess we'll be back next year. Thanks. But no, find time to watch some of those, and see us after the panel. We can give you suggestions for other episodes. But again, it's 50 years of Doctor Who. Take a dip into that big pool. It's going to be awesome. So, especially, you know, a Doctor you've never seen before. Try it. It'll be great.
Sometimes you'll see something in an old classic episode and you say, oh, that was in the new one too, and that's where I came from, yeah.
Yeah. I would recommend brushing up on your Cybermen and Ice Warriors for the season, perhaps. This would be great. And Neil Gaiman's writing a story. Things are a bit muddled for next season. We'll see how that shakes out. We may have a completely new Doctor and a new production team, if all the rumors. The Matt Smith rumor that was in The Sun about Matt Smith leaving, that no one seems to be talking about, has now made The Guardian, The Independent, and BBC Morning News. So that gives it a bit more heft in the credibility department, because The Sun is The Sun. Think of the National Enquirer as a British tabloid with a naked woman on it instead of, you know,
Bigfoot.
Lindsay
Half
Lohan.
naked.
So that could be something that happens at Christmas. We could be getting a whole new Doctor. There's already betting odds in England on who the new Doctor is going to be, so that'll be interesting. But this is your panel, so if you guys have any questions, raise your hand and we'll be glad to just swing away at it. Or not. Yes, thank you.
What do you think about in the last season with Matt Smith, whenever the Daleks like completely, the Doctor was erased from their memory? Like, I don't know. What do you think about that? Because I was a little upset by that.
Well, they have to, I think, what they're trying to do is they're realizing that the Daleks, since they've come back, has probably been not exactly handled well. I mean, the whole thing with Canary Wharf, the whole thing with the Daleks in Manhattan, even the Davros stories, they haven't exactly been really terrific. I mean, you could say that since the series began, Dalek and Asylum of the Daleks have probably been the two best Dalek stories. So it's probably sort of an attempt to sort of reboot the Daleks, and every sort of production team comes in, so through the history of the show, and you'll see some of this in the Pertwee era, and then later with Tom Baker, and then later in Davison and Colin and Sylvester, to sort of redo the Daleks, to keep that cash cow going and keep them interesting. So if they erase the Doctor from the Daleks' memories, then when he meets them again, it's, oh good, here's the Daleks, I'm gonna run up the stairs and throw a jelly baby at him or something. I mean, they've got a different way to sort of react with it now.
Yeah, you gotta remember, with 50 years of a program, diehard fans will say, but that contradicts what happened in February of 1967. So they have to sometimes use plot devices from a writer's perspective that just wipe the slate clean so they can start afresh.
I would also add to that they're trying to bring back the mystery of the character of the Doctor and erasing him from the memories. He even says it at the end of last season that he's gotten too big, that he's too known, that, you know, you go somewhere and they recognize him and he's legendary and there's tales about him. So I personally really like that. I mean, the idea of him slipping in and out and not always being known, not that there's some faction or group that's like, let's eat the Doctor, you know. That's kind of cool. And that kind of is going to tie into the Clara mystery too, I believe.
I think that's going to tie into Clara. And that's one of the nice things the old series did, is once in a while they'd have a story, and they would just refer to, I'm thinking of the Colin Baker Time Lash episode off the top of my head, where there's a part of it where they show a picture of the third Doctor who apparently visited this planet. We never saw that adventure. So the fact that they sort of refer to the Doctor visiting other places and times in a different face is kind of cool. So I think you might see some of that as they wipe the slate clean, but I think, you know, they have a distinct vision of where they want the show to go and the story arcs they want to say, and that they're going to bend and twist the continuity as they feel like to do it. Because we as an audience are so used to sort of like the Star Trek-ification of plots that like we will completely bypass continuity if it's a good and entertaining story. Well, most of us. There are people that will spend hours trying to solve continuity, but we just laugh at them. But I think you're right though, and that everybody sort of has their own take on where they want to do things.
You know, also from a writer's point of view, wiping the Doctor's slate clean kind of it gives it a little more suspense, because in the recent history, previous Dalek episodes, there's always that hesitation. It's like, oh, you are the Doctor before, you know, exterminate. And now you can just go right to exterminate. A little more suspense added. There's no, ooh, we're supposed to be slightly wary of you.
And, which they kind of shied away from a little bit in this, but the Daleks can actually time travel. So it does make things a little dodgy with trying to keep two sets of entities in your show traveling through time.
Besides, with a couple of timelines, they can always bring back Daleks that know him.
Yes. And in the back, yes.
Yeah, I was wondering if they're going to bring back the classic actors, any of them, in the future. Are they going to bring back
saying much. The pervading rumor is that we will see William Russell, who played Ian, and Carol Ann Ford, who played Susan. Susan makes sense because they're trying to solve who the doctor is and whatever mystery they're going to solve with that. And I think too that if they're filming a special called An Adventure in Space and Time, and Tim talked about this a little earlier in the weekend, which is a drama that Mark Gaddis wrote about the origins of Doctor Who, and they've cast people and they've already built sets to make things look like the Hartnell era. They very easily could have had those people in to work on An Adventure in Space and Time, and then just film stuff that they can slip into the new series later. So I think those two may happen. On the quote-unquote official record, everyone from Tom Baker through McCoy has said they have not been asked to return, but, you know, we didn't know Osmond was going to be in Asylum with the Daleks either, so we don't really know. What, in a perfect world, what I would love is us to watch the anniversary special completely blind and not knowing, and then just have it being like an orgy of like Doctor Who awesomeness. That is the perfect world. But we shall see. It could be Captain Jack may come back. I think you'll see more people from the new series. You won't see Rose, you won't see Martha, you won't see Mickey, but you may see, you know, a couple other people back, like Captain Jack and maybe Gwen. But that's it. I think those two people and maybe Captain Jack is probably about as far as they're going to go. Yes.
In your opinion, besides the Weeping Angels, what is the scariest villain versus the Doctor?
Well, yesterday we kind of touched on the fact, you know, you can have monsters and baddies of the week, but the ones that you kind of don't see, like the Bastion Murata, you know, the Great Intelligence we just had in the Christmas special coming, think about them, keep them in your mind. Those kind of things are really creepy, you know, I mean, the stuff, you know, something in the shadows, you know, you gotta be looking around all the time, that stuff's kind of creepy, but, you know, Cybermen, love Cybermen, what King James gonna do probably this year with Cybermen, sounds like it's gonna be really cool. You know, those kind of things. I'm glad to see Ice Warriors come back.
On a submarine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think from a viewer's perspective, I think the one that was the most creepy and scary in a way was the one in Midnight. You don't even have a name for it. And the DVD extra that I watched, they talk about the fact that it's one of the few episodes where the Doctor really doesn't even win. Someone else manages to pull the monster out of the spaceship, but there's no, I mean, the Doctor failed. And we don't know what it looks like, we don't know really what it sounds like, it doesn't even have a name. Even the Bastion Murata has a name. This is a complete mystery. And even the Doctor at the very end of that episode is still visibly shaken. And that doesn't happen in most episodes.
And despite, you know, the Weeping Angels kind of, as they come back, every time it kind of dilutes it a little bit, just because of the while they figure out
How they work.
change how they work. And I have to say the silence still works. You still see the silence, and not just the way they physically look. I mean, from an artistic standpoint, design standpoint, they look really creepy.
Yeah.
But just as an actual villain and how they act, they're also really creepy. They've also had probably out of all the new aliens the best voices. There's just something really creepy about the silence, and I don't know if I actually want to see them again. I kind of like that I don't. So. Yeah, the back.
I've heard a lot of questions for you guys this weekend about who's your favorite Doctor, what's your favorite episode. I figured I'd give you guys a chance to vent a little bit. What's your least favorite thing that's ever been done on Doctor Who? It could be an episode, an actor, a writer, it could be a bad special effect.
Just one.
My simplest answer, and it is by no means the fault of the actor involved, but if we sure could redo the TV movie, that's probably, I think, the 8th Doctor TV movie with Fox. That, as much as we love Doctor Who, you just sort of have to grin and bear it when you watch that. The interesting thing is, as the DVDs come out, Mike has talked about how John Pertwee is his favorite Doctor. He's the one I sort of embraced the least, but now I kind of enjoy watching him more because of the DVDs. So even though you say, oh, do you like something least, or least likely, you still sort of are always, at least when you go back and watch the classic shows, sort of re-examining things. So far though, I mean, looking at the old Troutons, looking at the old Pertwees, and even seeing some of the Tom Bakers I haven't seen in 20 years, I think that, without a doubt, my least favorite all-time Doctor Who thing is probably the Paul McGann movie. Not because of Paul McGann, though, because I think he got all the appeal, and he'd be a great Doctor.
If I had to pick thing, and I can pick like 4 or 5 that kind of stick out. But one thing I would have to say is, if I could change anything about the entire 50 years, it would be Colin Baker's coat. It diminished him as an actor, it diminished the series, and even now, when I'm trying to introduce the show to new people, I kind of want to gloss over the visual of the Sixth Doctor. The late 80s was bad enough with its gaudy colors, and that took it to a level that even in the late 80s was gaudy. So.
He
But
did
the look on
not
people's
like that
faces.
outfit, by the way. He did
I mean, the
not.
show itself made fun of it. I mean, they even pointed out, you shouldn't wear that. Okay, listen to your companion, take it off.
For me, what was that episode in Tenet's first season that the winning, what was it, child that from the computer that wrote the episode? I can't
Love and Monster.
Love and Monsters. That I could not stand that episode because it was just so weak and the monster was just so bad. It's like I can't stand to watch it every time.
I mean, what am I gonna say? I mean, I've been fanning the flames of Christopher Eccleston. I just think the dude got a raw deal, okay?
Well,
He knew.
Yeah, I mean, he knew the job was dangerous when he took it.
but I think also getting a press release saying you're leaving Doctor Who before they actually tell you that they're leaving Doctor Who is kind of not the way to go.
No.
So,
I was gonna say, thinking of classic series, I mean, I always remember kind of lines that kind of crack me up. There's the infamous one from Five Doctors, not the Mind Crew. There's that great. That's just
it's so cheesy.
cheesy.
Not the comfy chair.
Not the comfy chair. Money thing. There's that. In the new series, I mean, sometimes there's things that, as far as logic goes, you kind of have to throw that out the window sometimes. You need to pick about some things. Sometimes the idea of fixed points kind of bothers me a little bit in the show about time travel. I understand it from a dramatic point of view, from a writer's point of view, saying, okay, you can always travel in time. Let's set up a scenario where you cannot change that. You got a time traveler, you have to really work around that.
Yeah.
That kind of idea is sort of a little goofy to me.
It bothers me that
Good drama, but-
he stole a TARDIS from his home planet. He's been wandering around space for time, but he disobeys every single law that they have. But it's a fixed point in space and time. He'll break it in Wonders of Mars, but he won't. He can't go back like a year later in Angels in Manhattan.
And get,
Yeah.
and then River, gives her a book which has a foreword in it that Amy's supposed to write, so why don't River rescue them? It's just weird things like that.
Yeah. So technically, these 3 panels we've done this weekend are all fixed points in time. So, Lou Ferrigno's autograph line, fixed point in time. And space. Yes.
Good. How do you think you're gonna solve the problem when the 12th generation, originally, that's all the generations they had?
Well, most of the people, how many people have seen the classic series? Okay, so a lot of people that are new to the show, particularly in America, have never heard of that rule. So, they may just do nothing and just keep them regenerating. Because if you watch Brain and Morbius, they show all these previous regenerations of the Doctor anyway. So, as much money as the BBC has made more money from Doctor Who in 2005 than it made in all of the 1970s, 80s, and 90s put together in terms of overseas marketing and merchandising. So it's not going anywhere, which is very weird for us to sort of have the show on and not being in danger of being taken off. For us, it's sort of like, oh, it's not going anywhere. But then, oh, what's a commercial? That's also weird. But I think that what they're going to end up doing is sort of working around it as a plot device. And they may solve that in the 50th anniversary. Who knows? They'll fix it. Yeah.
There's one thing to elaborate on that. I was vegging last night after the day here and watched the end of Con Part
Yeah.
2. And you guys had just talked about that on Friday about the regeneration. And then actually says your story is in the story with tenants.
Yeah.
Regenerate.
And we do know, for example, that they gave the Master a whole new life cycle in 5 Doctors. And we are also led to believe that they resurrected Time Lords for the Time War. So there's something wacky going on with the Time Lords and what they can do, and who really knows? But they'll find a way around it.
What do you think would be a good idea to incorporate into the story of Doctor Who?
It's already used Richard Nixon, for God's sake.
Hitler and Nixon in the same season. Pol Pot next year. Wow, Pol Pot joke. Yeah, that's a fixed point in space and time. But I think that I'm torn because I don't want to know his name. I don't want to know why he left Gallifrey. I don't want to know. I mean, the fact that he's had 50 years of mystery behind the character. I don't want them to raise the curtain and see the magician in Oz. I kind of like that we don't know that. It's so mercurial to the show that I think they have to walk a very fine line with. They can't give away too much, or else it's over. You know.
I kind of think we touched on it the other day too. A name, I don't know that that's really, it's a central mystery, but you know, kind of what he does, how his backstory is. I mean, you might want to get more answers about that, but you attach a name to him and then, you know, what have you got? I mean, you say he's so-and-so, you know, and it's like, okay, but
You lose the doctor.
you
Yeah.
kind of end the series in a way, you know, it's like, separate questions drawn, but it's more important, why did he leave? How exactly, what were the circumstances, that kind of stuff.
I'm kind of concerned, I'm kind of interested in this family aspect they talk about, because Tennant has a very throwaway line about, you know, I had a child once, and we know that Susan is his quote-unquote granddaughter, but we don't necessarily know, is she really a granddaughter, or does he just say that because it's kind of weird in the 60s for a creepy 65-year-old man going around with a young girl. So, perfectly fine now, but yeah. If it happened now, it'd be like, oh yeah, great, have a good time. So I think that aspect of like what happened with this family, and I think that there's probably a level of tragedy in there that we're going to sort of find out. And I think I want to learn more about what the exact nature of the relationship is between him and the master. I think I'd like to see that.
In the recent series, we've been seeing a lot more underlying theme with the companion being a core figure in a continuing storyline throughout the seasons. Are we going to continue to see that, like with Amy Pond had the whole thing, and then the Dr. Donna? Are we going to kind of continue that with companions? Or?
We have Clara in 3 different times. We have Victorian Clara, modern Clara, and then we've got Dalek Souffle Clara. So I think that is the big companion arc for the foreseeable future, at least to the end of the season. And she's signed for next year, so she'll be back next season. I think that's the big arc for this one. I think the Pond arc is done. I think all the other previous arcs are done. But that's a pretty interesting arc. I mean, you kind of figure out after the Amy and Roy arc, what are they going to do next, and they give us this. So it's a pretty compelling arc, and I think that's where they're going with the companion for the foreseeable future.
What was your thoughts on the episode, The Wedding of the Doctor?
It wasn't kind of a real wedding, but it was a shotgun wedding. No, I mean, I thought the wedding, I mean, it's not really going to be kind of, does it bind, can she take him to court? You know, can she get half his assets? Well, the wedding is the wedding a fixed point in space and time?
She has the cloister room every other weekend.
She gets the pool on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah.
I did like it. I thought it was amazingly emotionally powerful. Every time Alex Kingston comes back, she's just great. There has not been a really awful River moment. I mean, the thing is with River is even if the stories are bad, she is so great in them. And they haven't overused her, which is also pretty awesome. So I thought it was, all in all, it was a pretty good episode, and just the way that they kind of did it. The wedding of the doctor meant a lot of different things, which I also liked as well.
Did you like it? I like the way Moffat kind of plays with us in the sense of he has these story arcs, and of course everyone tries to figure out where they're going, and you don't often figure it out. In hindsight, it should have been a relatively easy one to see the plot device he was going to use to get the Doctor out of the conundrum in that series, because he introduced the idea of the robotic creature, but I didn't see it coming, and I like the way he plays with our minds and then tosses it out, and I'm rarely right in figuring out what's going to happen.
But my issue with Moffat is that the ending is always sort of, I think Tim mentioned it the other day, convoluted, and sometimes it's a little rushed. That's the only thing. The whole thing with Roy, I think, Tim, you can talk about this a little more, but the whole thing with Roy, I just gave Roy the sonic screwdriver. It's just kind of...
Don't get me started on Pandora. Don't get me started on Pandora. Bugs need no end. Yeah, convoluted. Yeah. But
it brought the world to Fez. So.
earlier Matt Smith episodes, Amy makes romantic advances towards him. Do you think that throughout her story arc, in the back of her mind, she still had a little bit of a crush on the Doctor, even though she had already married Rory? Somewhere in the back of her mind, she was kind of thinking, well, he's sort of cute too. I mean, do you think that that was going on?
I think every companion that's a female, to a certain, especially in the new series, has a certain thing for the Doctor. I think in the classic series, you had people like Sarah Jane that sort of appreciate him for like a sense of wonder and interest. But I don't think until you sort of get to the new series, you sort of see that develop, probably to a certain extent, but they really messed with us when she's captured and she's with Mount Kevorkian, and she's like, there's this man, blah, 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 and he's coming to you, and you think, oh, it's going to be the Doctor, and it's Rory. So I think that's kind of where they make a break in that a little bit. I think they took a very clear route to sort of show that, yes, it's a Rory, it's not the Doctor. And if she really liked the Doctor, she would say, oh, look, he's stuck in 1936. Have a great time. See you later, or whatever. Have a great time.
We also have to remember that in that particular storyline, she wasn't married yet. And, sometimes it's kind of natural for somebody to go, hey, I'm getting married, but what about this? And give it a shot. Have a little confusion. I think it was a kind of a natural thing, and I like the way Matt Smith handled it.
Yeah, and it's also, too, with Rory, it's kind of like, he's pretty solid. This guy's got issues, because really, at the end of the day, he's got issues. And I think the Doctor, I think this is probably the core of what we're going to get with the season. There's something that's happened to the Doctor that he cannot forge normal human being relationships, and I'm hoping that's something they explore. And I kind of think that Amy knows that. There's something that makes him not going to just like her back, and she just kind of knows. So
There's a big element of mystery with him too. I mean, he appeared to her throughout her life as a young child. There was this sort of ongoing thing where there was this fascination with him too. And Raggedy Man. They played it up and they put a little the sexual tension in that. But he was much of a mystery. I think she wanted to crack the mystery on him, so she was just drawn to him. Period.
Then there was a crack in the wall.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Dr. Levin had an episode where he had sort of a clone that was his daughter, and she went off in a spaceship somewhere. Are we ever going to see her again? Can she have her own?
I don't know. This season is so jammed full of stuff, I would expect not, but who knows? I mean, think about it, they're doing a lot this year.
Yeah, I wish they hadn't stuck that at the end of it, but since they have, I want to know what happens to her. So,
I keep
yeah.
hoping to hear that she's coming out with her new show later, The Doctor's Daughter. So.
Well, and if she's got Time Lord, they can always pick a different actress to play it, so they're not limited with that. So.
That was actually my question. I was like, where'd Jenny go? Like, they put her in there and they just kind of wrote her off, never touched back on the topic.
Yeah. They kind of, I think that scene got there so that a future writer we could do something with her later on. But they have
Moffat told RTE, leave her, I might want to use her, but we don't know.
Yeah.
I was wondering, you said you think that the previous story arcs are kind of like gone for. Is River Song ever going to come back in
Yes.
future incarnations of the Doctor?
Wait till next week. Maybe. Yes, we're going to see her in the rumors we're either going to see her next week or in the finale, one of the two. And the interesting thing is that she's been filming a show called Arrow with John Barrowman, and now they are both lobbying to have scenes with Captain Jack and River in the show if they both come back. And I'm just trying to imagine that. It's like,
That would be hilarious.
that would just be awesome. So just give them a show. Like Thelma and Louise with Captain Jack and River Song.
John Barrowman never stops lobbying and being on the show. He
No.
always wants to be on the show.
Anyone else have a question? Yes.
Why do you think they removed a lot of really intensive companions like Rose and Amy out of the story?
The actresses want to leave for one, which is the big reason. And when Rose left, you can't really keep going back to Rose. I mean, kind of like after a while, it kind of moves on. The Doctor's always had companions. Yeah, it kind of misses one for a while, but then the new one comes along. You'll understand someday. I think it's kind of a natural progression where you sort of have these people in their lives and then they go on and live their life. And so he can worry about Amy and he can worry about Rose as much as he wants, but now he knows they're both in safe hands, they're in a much better place, and he can move on. I think that's kind of the way they do it, you know, and they didn't really make Martha an intense companion, they kind of dropped the ball with her, but then they made Donna probably the most intense of the new companions.
Donna was really.
And that's probably been that's my favorite of the new series companions so far, has been Donna, because of the dynamic. And they had that storyline end, and now we've got a brand new companion, and I think that's also gonna be intense, but kind of in a more subtle way. I don't think it's gonna be as intense as we have seen, although we have been told that the relationship with Dr. and Claire is very intense, and then River shows up, and it's a very odd triangle. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's more important.
Yeah.
Yep.
How do you feel about the death of K9? Like, do you think they made the right decision there?
Well, didn't he refix him and send him off?
Did he?
Yeah. He has his own really horrible TV show that I highly recommend not watching. It's a kid's show called K9. It's horrible. Although John Leeson, who does the voice of K9, is one of the most amazing people in the world. He's just so pleasant. But I think if we could see a K9 story again, K9's always, they can bring him back. Oddly enough, they didn't bring, K9 was the sonic screwdriver, you know, the Tom Baker era. It's like, it was a way to shorten the stories and have a plot device, and now they do all that with the sonic screwdriver. But I still think there's a very, very strong interest in K9. He kind of fixed it and left it open to where, okay, good is new, he's upgraded it, so if they bring K9 back, they can bring it back digitally, as opposed to when they brought the K9 back the first time, it was the box and then partially digitally. It's much easier to use it now than it was in the 80s because it was stopping every hour and they'd have to recharge batteries and all that stuff. But I think we could see K9 back.
Speaking of spin-offs, which one's your favorite? There's a bunch of them out right now.
Well, first season, out of Torchwood, the best one is probably Children of Earth. That season's really great. Beyond that, they should have probably done a unit show, which would have been great, although they still might, because now they have the people in place. Sarah Jane's okay, it's almost a little too kid for me. So, I don't know, for me, the best spin-off that they could have done, that got stepped down was the Sally Sparrow show that the BBC passed on, because they didn't think that Carrie Mulligan could carry her own show. That really disappoints me, but that probably would have been my favorite. Otherwise, I don't know if it's Torchwood, it's probably Sarah Jane, just because it was more for kids, it had more sense of a wonder to it, and it was a little more focused and the writing was better.
Yeah, Torchwood was good, but, yeah, and Sarah Jane, you have to understand, it was designed to be a kid show. Actually, Sarah Jane is what Doctor Who would probably be these days if they didn't have to target more for an adult audience. Yeah, Sarah Jane is what the BBC had intended Doctor Who to be back in the 60s. That was the original intent, to have a kids show. That it wouldn't be too scary for kids, and yet they would have that element of what Doctor Who has. So,
Yeah.
It's a watchable show if you're a fan of the show, but sometimes it gets just a little too, it's just a little too much target for kids. But it's good.
And every once in a while, the doctor pops up in Sarah Jane Adventures, so you gotta see those.
And the one with the Brigadier is just amazing.
That was good.
Young lady has a question, way back there in the hat.
The Doctor's daughter from the David Tennant series. Do you think they'll ever bring her back?
Well, this panel truly is a fixed point of time. We don't know. Wow, that's the question of the weekend. If someone asked me that in like Hardee's, I'm gonna kill him. We don't know, probably. I mean, I think if David Tennant comes back, she could come back, because they're married. So, possibly, no one really knows. I'd say at this point, the odds are more likely for Captain Jack to come back than Jenny, just because of the legacy and the depth that they made into the character.
In the Classic series, the TARDIS was immensely huge and had many, many rooms. Do you think they ever show any other rooms in TARDIS in the series?
Yes. Yes, there's an episode later this season called Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, and we're gonna see the swimming pool and the library, and we're gonna sort of find out everything we wanted to know about the TARDIS in theory. So I think that combined with the Doctor's Wife will be a nice little sort of overview of everything the TARDIS can do. They haven't made a really solid, completely TARDIS story until the new series for a while, except for maybe Invasion of Time and one episode in the Hartnell era. So this will be neat. And is that episode 8 or 9? Which one? Yeah, Castor Val really showed some of it too. I mean, they're gonna get to that. I think, but this episode is we're gonna find out just the TARDIS is how big it is and how terrifying it is too. So that'll be awesome.
Do you ever think that there's a possibility that the 12th Doctor, or if they make other Doctors after that, if there will be a female Doctor?
I think that there could be, but highly unlikely just because it works as a formula. It's been so established and worked with the male character as the Doctor. Also, the dynamic of the show since it started in '63 was, and it's changed now, but originally it was like, okay, we're going to do a story for kids that tells them about science and history. And it's got a wacky professor who has adventures, and then they've got assistants who are kind of cute for the dads. That's kind of the basic formula of it that sort of permeated through 50 years. So if they have a female Doctor, that gets completely changed and thrown around. The other thing is, we've said a couple times this weekend, you have to worry about, if you're casting a female Doctor for the lead, what do we get? You know, does it become a beauty contest, or does it become something really intelligent? If they bring it back and it's done well, with a female character, I'm fine with that. I just don't know how they're going to do it. And I'm not sure now the world audience that they didn't have previously, if that's going to be acceptable, just because it's in so many markets.
Yeah, they are throwing those references in there, like in Doctor's Wife of Corsair and all that, that he has that ability supposedly, it's kind of throwaway lines. So you just don't want to take the focus off the adventure. That's basically it, really.
Yeah, let's just leave with the fact that he has 2 hearts.
If the possibility that there is a female Doctor, what would the relationship happen between the female and River? Because River's.
I think River's done when Matt Smith leaves. So I think that's pretty much done. I don't think it'll get to that point. I think you might have to worry about what's the relationship with Captain Jack more than
But you know, I think questions like that are the reason that I don't think they would actually go full force and have a female Doctor. I wouldn't have any problem with the show that had a female Doctor. And if they established it early on that the Doctor had switched back and forth genders, you know, from 1963, I think it'd be less problematic. But to be this far into the show and suddenly throw something like that in, it almost seems contrived.
And they could do that show with Jenny as a spinoff.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe they kind of touched on that female Doctor with the whole Dr. Donna?
Some little bit, yeah.
Just to kind of feel it out to see what they, what they could do with it maybe.
Yeah, that was a pretty good performance. That was hilarious. We should play it.
So maybe that was just like a tester into that line of thinking.
She got more techno battle than
Yeah, she
entire
did.
Doctors have gotten in their entire careers.
Kudos to Catherine Tate.
Yes, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
So say Matt Smith did leave, and say I was never recommended a Doctor. I know they keep touching
Funny
on
you
something.
should mention that. Have you,
I went through all that. I can open my schedule.
has anyone seen My Weekend with Marilyn or Les Mis? There's an actor named Eddie Redfern who's a ginger who's in that. Him and Dan Stevens right now are leading the British odds makers to be the next Doctor. Depending on what magazine, but those are the 2 names that keep coming up. The other thing is that's been understood is that they already have a short list. So when it's officially announced that he's leaving, that's going to happen really quick because they got to start filming in May or June.
Yeah, those kind of things will be harder to keep under wraps once they get into production, so you'll hear about those things, that's going to happen, you'll start to hear about them when they start production.
And when they announce a Doctor, they make it into a big deal.
Yeah. After past generations, he did seem relieved. He was like, oh, not a ginger. Good.
Oh, it doesn't work.
No, a few times he was like, darn.
Yeah, darn, last night, end of time.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Right there.
If he was gonna become a ginger, what actor do you think you want to see play him?
Never bring back Danny Kaye, that's what I.
Well, this is a fixed panel, and so it's a fixed point in space and time, so physically be unable for Danny Kaye to come to the, I'm sorry. Danny wanted to I guess Weasley. I don't know. I can't think of all of them. Who else has got red hair? Cumberbatch has said he doesn't want it. He's making too much money doing films, and he's got this other thing called Sherlock, and he's got an American Pilot he might be doing. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. We'll think of all of them then at the panel ends. Go to our Facebook page, and we will tell you as we think of them.
Good plug, Facebook.com/STLCIA. Probably over it now.
It seems like the new series really focuses on Earth more. You think we're going to see other worlds come back and
Yes.
really?
The second story of this year, called Rings of Achaten, is supposed to have the biggest, most awesome planet they've ever used in the history of Doctor Who. And it also is going to have a ton of quote-unquote aliens, which is where I think we're going to see shout-outs to old aliens from the classic series sort of wandering around. But they're doing a big story this year set on an alien planet that is supposed to just be absolutely mind-numbing. I think as this season goes on, you're going to see a balance of stories set in outer space and mixed up.
There's still a practical reason too. I mean, although the BBC spends lots of money on Doctor Who, there's just a practical reason, center more toward Earth, you can do more with sets, and you don't have all that cost all the time. But they realize, it's a show that's going to be anywhere in space and time.
Right.
So, there's some of the economy of production there. But apart from that,
Yeah, and if you're also selling it to a worldwide audience, it's much easier to sell it if the average person can watch it and relate to it if they treat it more like a drama than a sci-fi show and set it on a contemporary setting in a contemporary location. But I thought going to the West was cool, even though it wasn't an alien world. I thought that was pretty good.
it was a good episode.
Yes, again.
When you found out that Jack was, replacing Bo, what was your reactions towards that?
I'm sorry, what was that?
When you found out that Captain Jack was maybe the face of Bo, what was your reaction towards that?
Is it a throwaway line or does it mean anything? I don't really know. I mean,
Well, the kind of funny, the universe's biggest Lothario becomes a huge blobby face. Kind of funny there, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just not sure.
yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
I like plot twists like that. I haven't got my mind around whether it's true or not, but I like when they throw you for a loop like that. So, yeah.
Well, I had a follow-up to that, actually. When I saw that, thinking of the face of Bo and him being immortal, I thought, could it be that somebody somewhere cuts his head off, gets rid of his body, and then he's just still alive going
Well, they
forward?
kind of have to.
That would be appropriate
Yeah.
justice.
He's pretty much the embodiment of Futurama at this point. So he's there with the Nixon head and the TR head, and all the Star Trek heads.
Futurama, you see the museum, there's a face of Bo head with all these other heads.
Like the contemplation of clarity.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what had to have happened, I would think. Unless he just puts his head on the knife and a body on the knife or something.
Oh, yeah, wait.
What's with the episode of Bob and then we don't play all the TV stuff?
You mean Bad Wolf?
Oh, the TV game where they're playing Weekend? The big reason they do that was because Anne Robinson really wanted to be in Doctor Who, and they really wanted to sell it in America. Really, and then Anne Robinson was known in America. That was part of it, is they wanted to connect it to other things that an American audience could relate to, but also they wanted to make this statement about the power of television and media and reality TV. It was kind of like the BBC, well, the Doctor Who production team, and subtly the BBC sort of sticking a giant finger up on this idea of like reality TV and how it's everywhere. That's kind of it. So putting the Doctor in a reality TV show, I think, is kind of the purpose of that.
Well, you also notice that they also had a version of Big Brother and What Not to Wear, and Big Brother over here was just starting when they aired that episode, and they knew that there would be a version of What Not to Wear somewhere on American television in the future, so that episode is relatable for everybody in America because those reality shows are here now.
So does that mean the 50th anniversary special is just him and Gordon Ramsay?
I don't like that plot device, by the way. When I watched that episode, it was that's kind of the stuff that years later is going to make that show dated, and I really.
But when they made it, they were in New
I
Jersey.
know, but I don't like it.
It was way back in 2005, it was
Way long time ago.
Maybe it doesn't have to be a fixed point.
But we can change that.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to
When Lucas directs it, they'll change it.
They brought it up a couple times, but do people ever go like into depth with the nightmare child? Like they bring that up, like I think once with Matt Smith and once with Dave.
I thought at the end of the Time War stuff, all that. Yeah, Nightmare Child. What was the question actually?
Like people ever go like more into depth to like explain like what it is or.
We may touch on some of that. That may be a fun. That was more of a Russell T Davies type of thing.
I always thought the Nightmare Child was pretty much Rose. But, because she goes nuts with the lights and the bright eyes, but. That movie, actually they did, they made an episode called Poltergeist. And, no, I'm kidding, I'm sorry. No, I don't know, I mean, again, that's a Russell T Davies thing, and the thing you have to understand is as they change producers for the show and production teams, they tend to not go back and revisit a lot of things unless they were involved in it. So Moffat will go back to the Weeping Angels because he created the Weeping Angels. He'll go back to Silence in the Library because he created that. He may not necessarily go revisit, say, The End of Time because he didn't do it, and that's Russell T Davies' thing, which is something they've kind of done even with the old series. They didn't really go back. If they did a Cyberman story, they would consult the people who created the Cyberman and say, what do you think? Can we do this or that? For example, when they brought back the Ronnie, every time they get it, they talk to Pip and Jane Baker to sort of see how that would weave in. So there's a lot of that you have to deal with, and I don't think Moffat is really into going back and revisiting a lot of things he didn't create because he doesn't want the baggage that it entails and also the hassles and rights. Because remember, they got to pay people when they do that. I mean, they don't like to pay people. So.
Who would be your favorite master and or master episode?
My favorite master would be Roger Delgado. I really wish we could have had more of Sir Derek Jacobi as the master.
Has anyone ever seen Jonathan Price do it with Rowan Atkinson? It's funny. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, person fabled up. Yeah, Roger Delgado was great. He was that,
For the Third Doctor, if you haven't seen it.
for the Third Doctor, yeah. The thing with the Master, it's got to be, I always go back to this, it's always got to be a good story. I mean, he's this sort of Moriarty figure, and it's kind of the thing where you just don't want the Master popping up all the time and ooh-ha-ha, that kind of thing. It's got to be a good story. That's my kind of key to it. He can get overused, he can get kind of a little, predictable, John Sims did some kind of crazy wild stuff with them. They took him kind of somewhere they didn't really take the character before.
He was great, though.
He was pretty funny. I mean, there was kind of a little bit, it almost, they tread that line, making him bonkers, I kind of prefer the Delgado, Machiavellian sort of Moriarty type of figure as opposed to just a lunatic. I like somebody who's scheming to do something, so that's when the Master's interesting to me.
And the Delgado Master, there's times when he's like, well, I really screwed this up, Doctor. I need you to help me even though my evil plan went wrong.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a fun plot device to watch.
Yeah, that was always neat. Like, he gets in over his head and like quickly ends up having to help him or something.
So we're going to do a couple more questions, but before we do, Craig, do you want to sort of give everybody sort of a lowdown on where they can find all the St. Louis CIA stuff out there on the web?
Yes, we have both a website and a Facebook page, and we encourage you to visit both. We just set our Facebook page up a week ago, so we're trying to find new likes, so certainly go check that out. It's St. Louis Celestial Intervention Agency. The Facebook is /STLCIA. We will have all announcements for future meetings and things on that. Our website, what is the website? What is the address?
It's www.stlcia.org.
And we have meetings roughly every 4 to 6 weeks. Our next meeting is on April 20th, and the one after that is May 18th.
And we have flyers if you want.
Yeah, we have flyers. After we're done, you can.
Yeah, come up and grab one if you want. It's got the web address and the Facebook page on it, but and certainly tell your friends about it. Certainly, there's a lot of other people that love Doctor Who and aren't at this event and don't know about it, and would probably love to connect if they knew about it. So.
And the St. Louis CIA, just for you, in case you don't know, is the oldest continuing operation Doctor Who club in the United States. We were founded in 1983, so we're going to be 30 years old this year. So. Any other questions? Yes.
What's your favorite time period of the Doctor visited?
favorite time period that the Doctor has visited. I like what Moffat's done with the 40s, and I like what they're doing when they go back to Victorian England a lot, but I like what they're doing with that. I guess those two.
I do like, I don't have a favorite, but I do like time travel stories that go back. Futuristic stories, unless you go far enough in the future that we'll never live to see it, tend to be problematic because, there's always a certain look to the future that never really bears out when you get there. But if you don't make it look futuristic, then it looks too current. So it's hard for, set designers to come up with something. So I do like historical episodes. Do we know what it was supposed to look like? We know what the costumes are supposed to be. We know if it's accurate or not. I actually kind of like some of the old classic ones where there's not even a sci-fi element to it, although I know they're very unpopular with a lot of people.
Or missing.
Or missing, yeah. But I just kind of like the idea that, to me, the idea of time travel is neat because you can go see what really happened. That's what's neat about it to me. So I like when they do that on TV. Of the recent stories, the favorite one I like is, as far as a scene, one scene, is when he brings Vincent Van Gogh to see his work on it. I can watch that scene over and over again. It's just fantastic.
Even though he breaks the law of time there, his own personal law,
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
It's more of an infraction.
Well, I say Don was pissed though.
I guess he figures he's crazy anyway.
What can you tell us about the convention that's going to be in Chicago over Thanksgiving?
Well, there's a couple big there's a couple events if you're a Doctor Who fan you should know about. There's Chicago TARDIS, which is held every Thanksgiving weekend in Chicago. They have usually a doctor and various guests and panels. It's usually a pretty good time. They have a pretty nice selection of programming that is done by professional guests and then organizations like us. There's a club in Iowa called Unit that does panels. There's a group in Chicago that does panels. So that's usually a pretty good time. That's the largest one in the Midwest, the Chicago TARDIS. Then there's also, the big one is Gallifrey, which is in Los Angeles. That's every February. And that thing is, Jennifer's been. I'm going to go next year. It is the closest thing to the Comic-Con of Doctor Who conventions that there is in North America. Those are the two sort of big ones. But then you have things like Dragon Con that bring in Doctor Who guests, San Diego Comic-Con, which kind of is getting there, and a lot of regional conventions. There's a convention in Long Island this year. There's the Doctor Who Cruise. Just type in Doctor Who conventions.
Doctor Who Cruise.
Yeah. You will always find Fraser Hines on it, though. Fraser Hines goes every year. Fred Grandy, however, not on it.
Well, and this year too, the anniversary year, there's big stuff going on.
Yeah, the Chicago TARDIS will be interesting this weekend, or this year, because it's over the weekend of the anniversary. So that might be fun to go to as well. Yes?
Will they release all the episodes on Blu-ray at some point?
The only thing coming out on Blu-ray outside of the originals from 2005 on will be Spearhead from Space, because Spearhead from Space, because of a worker strike, was filmed on film. And really, putting them on Blu-ray, the quality isn't going to improve any at this point. So they've said that they're going to put that on Blu-ray because it's film and it'll look much better on Blu-ray. And then anything probably from Eccleston on. Season 2 of Tenet and the Tenet specials are already out of print on DVD. So my guessing is that they're getting ready to do those on Blu-ray as well. Or they're trying to get everyone to buy that big box set of the Tenet years. But yeah, you won't see the War Games on Blu-ray or any of that because they were all filmed on video and it's not going to look, the quality's not going to get better.
No, so the only way to get all of them is to get it on regular DVD or
Their goal is to get all the classic range.
Well, that's why,
The anniversary year, and they're nearly there.
Yeah, you're going to get
five stories left.
5 stories left, and then they'll do special editions here and there, and that'll be mostly it. And we are done. We're getting the giant waving sign. If you guys get a chance this weekend, though, please get a flyer. But first of all, thank all the Wizard World people for coming to St. Louis for that. They worked hard all weekend, so make sure that you thank them because they also have to go home. So, they have to get home in this, so give them a big shout out and thank them for their time. Go to their website, tell them you had a great time. Check out our website, shameless plug, anglotopia.net under Dr. Hooligan. That's my weekly Doctor Who column. And it's the only ongoing weekly Doctor Who column in the U.S. So have a great day. Thank you so much for coming. Good luck getting home.